Hi, Leo. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for March of 2020. We're going to be looking at Mercury activity because you probably know Mercury is retrograde. And we're going to be looking at full and new moons. And also, Saturn is doing some interesting stuff, and Venus and Mars. And Julia, I think you have some thoughts about Venus for Leo this month. Is that right?
Oh, sure. Yes, I do, Jamie. Well, hey, Leo. Let's talk about Venus because everybody loves Venus. She's the planet of art, beauty, and relationships. And Venus is going to enter your 10th house of career on March 4th. And wherever we have Venus is where we can find pleasure, where we can find some peace. So this is a great transit for getting along really well with the people that you work with. It's also very good for gaining the favor of people who are in charge at work, like a boss. The 10th house, if you don't have a boss right now, let's say you're still in school or living with your parents, the 10th house can also correlate with a parent too. So you could be also getting along well with your parents. And if you do any work which might be Venus related at all, let's say you do some design or you have to get along with people like customer service, this is going to be an excellent transit that supports that. Now, the next planet I want to talk about is Mars, the planet of activity, the planet of drive. And Mars is going to spend most of the month in your sixth house of work, too. And the sixth house is also a house of health routines and the house of habits. So this could be a very good transit for starting some new health routines because Mars is where we get a little drive and a little bit of energy. But, it can be a little bit of a challenging transit for any type of chronic health conditions you might have. Let's say if you are prone to inflammation, if you're prone to getting headaches or something of that nature, these types of conditions can also flare up. Then Mars enters your seventh house of partnership on March 30th. So this is a very good transit if you have to do any type of teamwork with a partner, like get some energy out with a partner, any type of cooperative effort. However, Mars can be a little bit conflict prone too, so watch out with having some fights with a partner as well. Now, also what's going on this month is we've got the spring equinox, and that happens when the sun moves from the final degree of Pisces and into the first degree of Aries. So it's kind of the beginning of a whole new cycle, and that's going to correlate with your ninth house, where you naturally have the sign of Aries fall. So this is kind of a new cycle of beginnings for all ninth house matters. That is the house of higher education, the house of adventure, the house of the higher mind, everything that kind of expands your internal as well as external horizons, so to speak, as well. And then the last very important thing to keep track of this month is that there's going to be a big shift when Saturn enters the sign of Aquarius on March 21st. Now, Saturn is going to kind of go back and forth between Aquarius and Capricorn this year, but this is kind of, you're sort of on the verge of another new cycle in terms of Saturn, and that correlates with your seventh house of partnerships. So wherever we have Saturn is where we do feel some restriction, where we might be dealing with some blockages, and where we might be dealing with some frustrations. But Saturn isn't just about making your life difficult and hard and sucky in some way. I mean, Saturn gives us some challenges and limitations so that we can actually manifest and kind of grow and really kind of bring some structure and bring some sort of some mature development to those areas as well. So in the house of partnership, that could mean that you have to deal with some sort of like more adult things in your partnership. It's not just all fun and games and lightheartedness, but that there might be some work to do within your partnership as well. And even though this might be challenging at first, Saturn could really be kind of testing and bringing some evaluations to your partnership relationship life, which are really useful to have in the long run as well. And what's going on with you this month, Jamie? What are you seeing?
I love the way you describe Saturn because people who are wise and mature see Saturn not as something to be crushed by,
Oh,
but
yeah.
an opportunity, which it
Totally.
really is. It's
I
an
completely
opportunity
agree with
to
that.
work hard at something and garner reward for that. And
Yeah.
in the seventh house, I think that's going to be really nice. And that combined with Mars moving into the seventh house later in the month just makes me think that for the Leos of the world, it might be time for a relationship reading. It might be time to do the work of relationship, roll up your sleeves, really get into it, and discover what that is in your chart. So this could be a really good timing for that. I'll put a link for that down in the YouTube description where you can find it, Leo. So let me go back to the beginning of the month because early in the month we have some Mercury activity. Mercury, which has been retrograde. Oh man, Mercury retrograde in Pisces, so not fun. Is going to be retrograding back into Aquarius right there on March 4th. Now, Mercury actually likes to be in Aquarius, and that's really nice. And so it has been in the eighth house, bringing up some old communications that might feel unfinished, some conversations that need to be cleared in the realm of intimacy for you, Leo, in that eighth house. So possibly you have gotten stopped short by a really difficult conversation or even a fight with your partner about money in the last couple of weeks. But as Mercury retrogrades back into the seventh house, you'll find the conversation shifting to more fair and equitable ground where you can negotiate clearly and you feel that your heads are a little bit more clear to do that. So from March 4th, when Mercury retrogrades back into Aquarius, to March 9th, which is where Mercury turns direct in Aquarius, things should get better. Things should get clearer, a little less muddy. And March 9th is interesting because we have a full moon. Here we have the sun in Pisces in your eighth house, lighting up that realm of intimacy, intimate connection, whether it's about your sex life with your partner or it's about what you share emotionally with your partner, that level of intimacy, or whether it's about the finances that you share and whether they feel like fair agreements. Any way you look at it, the sun in your eighth house is shining a light on all that stuff, making it more visible. And then the moon is over here in the second house in Virgo. And that Virgo moon is really about taking comfort from creating order. When the moon is full, quite often it impacts us in our relationships, and we find ourselves sometimes taking sides, being one of these two and projecting the other onto our partner. So you might be the sun in Pisces in the eighth house who's trying to figure out and shine light on the murky world of intimate connections, or you might be playing the role of the moon in Virgo in the second house, taking comfort from at least organizing your own money. And either of those would be a fine way to approach it. And then since Mercury goes direct that same day, clarity can begin to come as Mercury retrograde ends. Yay! So later in the month, there is a new moon at 4 degrees of Aries on March 24th. Let me get there. And you may notice that sometimes the things that I show you don't seem like they're happening on exactly the dates that I'm describing. And that's because this chart is not just set for a date, it's also set for a time of day. And if it hasn't happened by that time of day, well, then it's probably going to happen later. I hope that made sense. So on March 24th, we have a new moon in Aries, which is really going to play off of that feeling of newness and freshness and rebirth that comes with springtime that Julia was talking about with the sun moving into Aries. This particular new moon is going to include Chiron in Aries, nestled between the sun and moon in a puppy pile. And Chiron demands that we heal. So the sort of the catchphrase that we came up with for this is springtime is for healing. So this is a time when it's important for everyone to heal themselves in their assertion. Now, if that means letting some anger out that you've been sitting on for a long time, or if that means that you've been passive aggressive and it's time to stop and be more clear and more direct. Um, if that means that you haven't been asserting yourself, then maybe it's time to do that. So it's time to heal ourselves in the area of assertion, and this new moon is going to bring up a lot of emotions around that, a lot of opportunities to do that. And you probably already know that every month we make a playlist for the month on YouTube on our channel there, Pandora Astrology. And so you will find Springtime is for Healing is there, talking about that new moon, and Coming Out of the Fog is there, talking about the full moon in Virgo and Mercury going direct, and other really good stuff, including Saturn going into Aquarius. And you should definitely check it out because there's more information there for you. So, Leo, I hope you enjoyed this video that we made just for you. And if you want that relationship reading, you can just look down into the YouTube description below this video. We would love to see you. And until next month, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye bye.